Well, everybody, I'm just gonna give you the full warning up front, okay? In this video, I'm going to present a case that shows a lot of interviews and statements from Todd Howard and others within that sphere that suggests pretty heavily that BGS is not making Fallout 5 after The Elder Scrolls 6. There's actually, I think, reason to believe that they are working on something else after The Elder Scrolls comes out, and I have two theories that I will present to you as to what those could be. One, super exciting and bizarre and impressive and just unpredictable. The other one, depressingly predictable. I'm just gonna give you a heads up now. If you find this case convincing as I go through it, this will probably ruin your day. So just buckle up, because this is a wild one. I gotta say, I had this thought yesterday when we were watching, actually on stream, a video from Juicehead. And if you don't know Juicehead, what are you doing? He makes a lot of great videos on Bethesda and RPGs and stuff. And we were going and looking at that video, and I had this moment where he played a clip of Todd Howard in 2023 talking about Starfield and everything. And Todd lets slip something very small, something you blink and you miss it, but I think it's very revealing. And when we look at all of these other statements he's made over the last few years, again, I think there's a really strong case to be made that Fallout 5 is not actually next.
Fallout 5, I want to do that, that'll be next.
That was more of like a general, it will clearly be after Elder Scrolls 6 at some point.
I don't know why you say that unless it's not next. That to me sounds like he is padding the release window, saying it's coming in the future. I'm doing something else. Very good video, Juicehead. Very good video. As always, guys, go subscribe to Juicehead. Just to instill the importance of that, Fallout 4 came out in 2015. If they make Fallout 5 next, you think Elder Scrolls 6 comes out in 2028, probably is the expected timeline according to Phil Spencer. And then you look at maybe a like 5-6 year development cycle for Fallout 5, and then you land at like 2033, 2034, which would put it almost 20 years after Fallout 4. 20 years. And if they are not making Fallout 5 next, we are going to be approaching the timeline where we could have an entire quarter century between mainline Fallout titles, which is unbelievable. But again, I think there's a pretty strong possibility that that's what's happening. So buckle up. I'm going to go through it in this video. Put your tinfoil hats on. We're reading into stuff. We're looking at interviews and transcripts and weird off the cuff remarks and stuff. It's going to be interesting, but I'm just going to warn you again, if you find this compelling, it's going to ruin your day. So just just watch with caution. So to make this case, I want to go chronologically. Of course, Starfield was initially revealed back in 2018 at E3. You know, this was the showcase where they showed everything. They announced the Elder Scrolls 6 back then, which, just to like put it in perspective, it has now been more time between the announcement of the Elder Scrolls 6 and today versus the amount of time between Skyrim's launch and the announcement of the Elder Scrolls 6. It's like literally been longer since the trailer than the trailer was from the release of the previous game. It's been 7+ years at this point. Like, it's outrageous. But anyway, that's beside the point. At that event, they announced everything in their docket because ZeniMax was preparing to shop themselves around, and their hope was to get acquired by a big company for billions of dollars, which of course eventually worked, and they were trying to gin up hype for their franchises and IPs. They showed everything they had on their docket, including Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6. After that, they went radio silent for a few years, of course, trying to salvage what was left of Fallout 76. And in 2021, they began really marketing Starfield because the game was initially slated for a release date at the end of 2022. Of course, it would eventually get delayed by basically an entire year, but back in late 2021, Todd did a number of interviews, including one with IGN Unfiltered. Now, IGN Unfiltered is a podcast format show. It is audio only, and there are snippets of it, but it basically is a 38-minute recording of just audio. So I have taken the liberty of going and transcribing the entire thing, and we're gonna look at a couple of very specific snippets of it, one here, one section later in the video, when I present to you my conspiracy theory for what the other project could possibly be, like 5% chance, but possibly. So please enjoy a little bit of stunning and compelling Starfield gameplay while we talk about Fallout.
Well, I guess what about Fallout when we're talking about it? Because that almost feels like, you know, you've got Starfield, you have a release date that's in gonna call it pencil on the calendar. You've penciled it right now. I don't think no game release dates get written in ink anymore until like they've.
Yeah, we wrote it pretty hard in that trailer. So.
Well, I want to ask you about that in a minute, but
sorry for the little interjection, but I just find that so funny because they would go on to delay the game after that point, but they were very confident about the 2022 release date at the time. But yeah, anyway, continuing.
But then you've seemingly publicly committed to Elder Scrolls 6 being the thing after Starfield. Sure. So does Fallout just go to the back of the line? As far as mainline, yes, there's 76, but as far as the mainline Fallouts,
right.
Is that going to the back of the line? Or is that a thing where you've now got an entire Xbox family at your back and people
sure.
like In Exile and Obsidian? And is there a scenario where you hand Fallout off?
I don't see, look, Fallout's really part of our DNA here.
Yeah.
We've worked with other people from time to time. I can't say what's going to happen. We have a one-pager on Fallout 5, what we want to do. Again, if I could wave my hand and say, have
right.
that out. I'd like to find a way to accelerate what we do. But I can't really say today or commit to anything what's going to happen when, other than, hey, our cadence is Starfield and then Elder Scrolls 6.
Did you hear it? Did you hear it? There are a couple of interesting little tidbits that I want to point out. I mean, obviously, for one, it's a specific question about Fallout. Will you hand it off to somebody else? And he just simply replies, look, I think he was about to say, I don't see that happening. That's my personal interpretation of his statement, but it could be, I don't see a world where we don't do that. Who knows? I get the vibe he was saying, I don't see that happening. Especially because he follows it up with, it's part of our DNA here. We've worked with other people from time to time, so I can't say what's going to happen. And he just leaves it at that. He also says they have a one-pager on Fallout 5, meaning they have basically the rough outline of what they want to do, which is also cool. But again, even in this interview, November of 2021, not that long ago, Todd seems to have a pretty clear idea of what they want to do for Fallout 5. He's iffy and doesn't really want to talk about potentially having another team jump in and do it, which throws a wrench into the speculation and theories for like a New Vegas remake or something, or a New Vegas sequel from Obsidian, which is something we'll talk about later. But it seems like there's at least a roadmap and an idea. He won't go so far as to say Fallout is next after the Elder Scrolls, but he's at least communicating roughly that they know what they're going to do, and they will make one eventually. They have the one page on it. But don't worry, we'll get back to that interview in just a minute. But first, we got to fast forward the clocks to 2022, where Todd did a presentation once more discussing Starfield. And in this, he has a couple of interesting little tidbits to share. Allow me to play it for you.
That's the other thing you said. Yes, Elder Scrolls 6 is in pre-production, and we're going to be doing Fallout 5 after that. So our slate's pretty full going forward.
Oh, Todd, enchanté. You say you're going to be doing Fallout 5 after that? Dude, when this interview dropped, all over the internet, articles popped up. Todd Howard confirms Fallout 5 is next. He confirms it's happening, and it's after the Elder Scrolls 6. So from this moment, that one statement at the end of a live stream on June 14th, 2022, everybody jumps and says Fallout 5 is next. That's where the presumption starts. However, Todd has since quite awkwardly walked that back. The next year, June 11th, 2023, as part of the Starfield Direct, Todd followed up on this and had a clarification to make. Okay, let me just play this for you. Out of his own mouth. Here, let's see.
And you had been alternating between Elder Scrolls and then once you acquired it, Fallout, and you'd gone back and forth. And now you've had this 8-year Starfield thing in here. You've already committed to Elder Scrolls 6 as the next thing. You said it's in pre-production. And then last year when we talked, you said, yep, Fallout 5, I want to do that. That'll be next.
That was more of like a general, it will clearly be after Elder Scrolls 6 at some point.
Okay,
let me clarify that.
Why would he feel the need to walk that back? Like, if Fallout 5 is next after the Elder Scrolls, why would he feel the need to walk it back and go, when I said that, I just meant it's coming after the Elder Scrolls. Okay, that's what I was saying. I mean, again, like, I feel like this isn't even that controversial of a thing. Just take it in again, okay? Sorry, my face just floating.
Committed to Elder Scrolls 6 as the next thing. You said it's in pre-production. And then last year when we talked, You said, yep, Fallout 5, I want to do that. That'll be next.
That was more of like a general, it will clearly be after Elder Scrolls 6 at some point.
Okay,
Let me clarify that one.
He had no problem confirming that Elder Scrolls 6 was after Starfield. He had no problem with that, even going back to 2018. When they announced Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield, that's how he set it up. Don't believe me? Let me show you. Okay, this is in their presentation. They just revealed Starfield.
Starfield is a game that we have spent years thinking about and working on. Something we feel uniquely positioned to pull off and that we're incredibly excited about.
Okay.
But we're also building toward the game after that.
What?
And it's the one you keep asking about.
And then they revealed it. So even back in 2018, he's totally comfortable revealing Elder Scrolls 6 is right after Starfield, and he confirms that multiple times after this reveal happens. And yet, with Fallout 5, he doesn't want to say that. Why wouldn't he just say it? All these years later, even in 2023, 5 years after this reveal, which is insane, but 5 years after, he still doesn't want to confirm that Fallout 5 is coming after the Elder Scrolls 6. And it may just be because it's not. It may be that it's not, okay? Like, I hate to break it to you. At some point, if a dude says something like 5 separate times, you gotta start believing him, okay? He doesn't want to clarify or specify it's coming next. He doesn't want to say it. He walked it back after sort of suggesting it might happen. He walks it back and says, no, I didn't mean it like that. I don't think they're doing it after Elder Scrolls 6. I don't think Fallout 5 is immediately after. I don't even know if they're gonna make Fallout 5. They may make Fallout 6 and let some other team do it. I don't know, but I feel like why walk all this back and be so cagey about it unless there's something to be cagey about, you know? I've seen some people reply to this and they're like, Luke, no. He's just trying to get expectations low so he can surprise everybody when he reveals Fallout 5 again. And I don't know, man, maybe he just is like that much of a showman. He just really likes the idea of surprising people in that way with something they expect. I don't know, but it's a bit of a stretch, I think. All I know is Todd's being really cagey about Fallout 5 and the timelines, and he wasn't cagey about Elder Scrolls 6, a bigger game, I would argue, than Fallout 5. And so I just find it strange. So let's go with this, though. What else is going on right now with Fallout, and what other statements has Todd made about it? Well, in response to the Fallout TV show popping off back in April of 24, Todd did an interview, in this case with IGN as well, talking about the show. Let's hear what he said here, okay?
Todd, I want to switch gears a little bit and ask more about the games. We obviously know that Fallout 5 is in the works, but you have said in the past that the plan is Elder Scrolls 6 and then Fallout 5. Is that still the plan, or is there any chance that could change based on the interest from the show?
I'm going to avoid putting dates on anything. I've learned that the hard way. So obviously, our focus.
She's not even asking about dates. She's asking about timeline, like order of things. She's like, is it next? And he will refuse to say it's next. Once more. He says, I don't want to put dates on things. I don't want to put dates on things. She didn't ask you to put dates on it, Todd. You slippery little fella. You know what you're doing. He didn't want to put dates on it. She didn't ask about dates. She asked, is it coming next? And he's like, I don't want to put dates on it. Todd's sneaky. He's a slippery little snake, I'll tell you what.
As far as new development right now is Elder Scrolls 6, but that doesn't mean that we're not making plans for other things. We're still doing a lot of work, obviously, on Fallout 76, and you see the community, so many people going into that game and kind of rediscovering it, and just so happy with where that game is at. And it really
so happy with the $100 a year subscription. I'm so happy.
And I mean, this has one of the best communities in all of gaming. Like, surprisingly, it's like a very, very nice apocalypse.
It is unironically a really nice community. I will defend Fallout 76 on this till the day I die. It genuinely is one of the nicest communities. Like, you'll show up, new player, you'll have old players come in, just drop ammo and stuff and help you and hop in. Like, they are genuinely so kind. It's a really cool community. It very much is. So I'll agree with Todd on that point.
And we're doing a lot of Starfield work as well.
Great.
So we have some really good updates that are, going to get announced soon for that.
I wonder what updates that would have been. What update do you think he was talking about in April of 2024? I know, this one. Sorry. I'm just feeling so sassy because this is like kind of crushing to think that Fallout very well could have like a 25-year break between major releases. Like, it sounds insane when you say it out loud, but like, that's seriously what we're looking at. But we'll get back to that because I have maybe a word of comfort with all this, but let's see, what else did Todd say? What else has he brought up? Okay, what else did he say? I also found this podcast, The Den of Geek, where basically they do a little podcast where you can sit down and talk about your show. And in this case, they did a podcast talking about the Fallout show. I'll just move myself off Todd. And it's a nice little recap, but Todd makes a quick offhand comment about Fallout 5 that I'll just let play.
I think we made Fallout 6.
Yeah, we know all about Fallout 5. We're not telling anyone.
Okay, Todd, everything about Fallout 5 now, go.
Well, there were some things I said, don't do this, because we are going to do that in Fallout 5. But I think the intent of when you see that, it's how we approached it. I think it's one thing that's unique about this sort of, we'll call it, genre translation of something, whether it's a game or a comic or some other book, is that it wasn't a translation of an existing story. It was, what would the next thing be? It just happens to be a TV show. And that.
Yeah, it sure do. It sure do. I mean, he says we are doing that with Fallout 5. So he says he has ideas, things they might have wanted to do in the show. He specifically said, don't do that. We want to do that. So again, kind of reinforces the idea that BGS, Todd, his team, they want to do it. They don't want to hand it off to some totally separate developer. They want to do it. But I mean, maybe that's just reading into it. So, I mean, speaking of reading in as well, shout out to Todd's GMT. Look at this thing. You know this watch? I like watches. I don't know if you know that about me, but I like watches. And Todd actually regularly has pretty nice watches on. He does pretty well for himself. This one is a pretty nice watch. This is used. Okay, this is a used one, and this is the one he's rocking. Todd knows what's up. Okay, Todd's using that Fallout first money in a good way. Give him that. Sorry, Todd. You can't wear anything around me. I'll spot it. I know what you're doing. It's a nice watch. Genuinely a very nice watch. But okay, this kind of brings us up to today, okay? Like, Todd has refused to acknowledge or say timeline-wise if Fallout is next. The one time he suggested it might be next, he walked that back and said, no, I just meant generally it'll come after this point, which is technically true of everything in existence that isn't already. Like, yeah, at some point in the future, I will walk up those stairs. Just, I'm not saying I'll do it right now or next or anytime soon, but eventually, yeah, probably. It's just not really that helpful of a thing. But he already walked it back. And then other times he's mentioned that they have a design doc. He's mentioned that they have ideas. They had to tell the show not to do certain things because they knew what they wanted to do with Fallout. But okay, fast forward the clocks to 2025. That's where we are right now. And in this beautiful year, we've had a couple of leaks and suggestions, insinuations, dare I say, about Fallout coming from various sources, both of whom are journalists that write for various gaming publications. This first one is a little snippet of the Friends Per Second podcast, where you'll recognize Skill Up and Jake, of course, from Game Ranks. And this guy down here is a man named Mr. Midler. Specifically, his name is Jordan Midler, and he is a writer, reporter, I guess, for VGC, which is one of my favorite gaming publications as well. And he, in this podcast, was talking about some of the stuff with Fallout. Let's see what he had to say.
Fallout is the big one. I cannot believe that they didn't immediately start work on a Fallout 5 because Todd's not going to make it. Todd's not going to make it, man. He's not going to make the game. He will make it to that point of life, hopefully, at the time of recording.
In the whole context, I encourage you to watch the whole podcast. In the broader context of the discourse, this still hit my ear weird because it sounds like he's saying Todd's just going to explode or like dissolve into dust or something. Like Thanos snapped away. He's not going to make it. I don't know. But again, I'm going to reframe this in a moment where it might make sense, because right now, based on the presumption that Fallout 5 comes out in like 2032, Todd right now is like 54 years old. So he'll be in his early 60s at that point. He was born in 1970. He'll be 63, 64 when Fallout 5 comes out. That's not like the end of the world. He very well could do that. There's plenty of game designers who are in their 70s still working. So it's not impossible, okay? But he says some other stuff too.
But when he's done with the next Elder Scrolls, I can fully see him being like, okay, I'm done. I'm an older guy now. They should. Yeah. There are multiple Fallout projects in development, including, as far as I'm aware, that one you're all wanting. But it's not far enough along to say anything that is like, you're going to be playing this game anytime soon. Fallout 5 should have been day one. Okay, we own these motherfuckers now. Let's get a game that says Fallout 5 on it out on the shelves. And they didn't bother.
Now, for one, I will say that I don't agree that like they should have scrapped Elder Scrolls 6 to go to Fallout 5. Elder Scrolls is gigantic, okay? Anybody who doesn't realize that, I don't know how to help you. It's just Elder Scrolls 6 will be huge. Like you thought the hype around Starfield was big, just you wait. It's going to be madness, okay? So I kind of feel like Jake in this moment. I do. I identify with this vibe. I love Jake, by the way. He's a great guy. Met him a couple times. Very sweet guy. But I don't agree that they should have scrapped Elder Scrolls 6, okay? I just don't agree with that premise, I guess. And as for Todd retiring after the Elder Scrolls 6 and not bothering with Fallout 5, this is something that we actually have direct countering evidence of, because Todd has talked about retirement. He's specifically mentioned it numerous times. For example, he mentions in this interview back in 2023, people were asking about retirement, and basically he just addresses it immediately. He just says, "It's weird for me to think about retirement. Something he believes is a long, long way off," is what he said. "I want to do it," game development, "forever. I think the way I work will probably evolve, but look at 71-year-old Mario creator, Nintendo legend, Shigeru Miyamoto. He's still doing it." So he's pointing to a dude in his 70s saying he's still doing it. I want to do it forever. I don't want to retire if I can help it. So I don't think he's going to just casually dance off into the sunset with his Rolex watches after Elder Scrolls 6. I just don't see that happening. But as for the other thing that was mentioned, which is multiple Fallout projects in development, including the one everybody's talking about, he has an offhand comment at the end of this where he alludes to what that could be. I interpreted this as a joke, but I'll let him say it himself.
Anyway, New Vegas 2 coming soon.
I think it's a joke. They didn't ask any follow-up questions, if you're wondering. I would have been like, what Fallout projects? But they didn't ask him. They just moved on and asked him about the drink he has, which is like a little funny. It's a very good podcast. You should go follow it. They're very good at what they do, obviously. But this started a barnstorm of news stories, people talking about Fallout projects in the works. What is this? What's going on? And none of this has really materialized in any tangible way, okay? The same sources that are saying there's multiple Fallout projects in the works are the same ones saying that it's not Obsidian. Obsidian allegedly is not doing it. They're working on smaller projects in the same vein as like Avowed and The Outer Worlds 2. They're not doing like a big Fallout thing. Maybe they're doing like a top-down remake of Fallout 1. There's discussions of that. There was, of course, the leaked information about a Fallout 3 remaster in the same vein as the Oblivion remaster. That probably is also happening through Virtuos and will come out next year. I think that's very, very likely as well. But in terms of new Fallout content, in terms of like a Fallout New Vegas 2, or in terms of a Fallout 5 or something like that, there really is no concrete evidence either which way, which is weird because these types of things leak a lot, especially BGS stuff. And the fact that we have no concrete evidence either which way, other than people just asserting there's multiple Fallout things happening, doesn't really tell you a whole lot. Again, especially because these same people who are saying this are not saying that it's BGS working on them. And they are not saying either that it's like Obsidian working on it. They simply say they're in the works somewhere. That could mean a new mobile game from a totally separate studio, or it could mean just these remakes and remasters that we've heard rumored and speculated about forever, which I don't think is the fix people are hoping for. I think people are hoping for something really substantial. And listen, there were a couple of other things, like statements made by Jez Corden on their podcast. He's a reporter with Windows Central, and mentioned that after shutting down the live service like MMO from ZeniMax Online, he suggested that Microsoft did that in order to rearrange and basically redirect funds to Fallout 5, which they fully greenlit. But then, like, he also says that he doesn't know if it's Bethesda Game Studios making it and refuses to say that. Like, I don't know. Jason Schreier came out and countered everything he said, so I wouldn't put too much into it, frankly. It seems to be heavily contradicted by other people, to say the very least. So I'm not taking as gospel truth that like Fallout 5 is currently in production or anything, especially because it seems like we're all talking about this through both sides of our mouths. So I just wouldn't read too much into it. There was also this other statement from Jez Corden on his podcast. He's a reporter with Windows Central, and this is what he said.
Who's making Fallout 5?
Well, this is it, you see. I'm not entirely sure, but what I do know is that, or at least this is what I heard. So when Microsoft was looking at ZeniMax's MMO, which was doing really well, to really get it...
The canceled MMO that they just canceled. Blackbird.
The canceled MMO.
Right? Blackbird, right. Okay, yeah. So this is Blackbird,
the canceled MMO.
This is the one that was in pre-production for a while.
Yeah,
the
pre-production.
One that Mike Straw, who was the studio head, left over it when they canceled the project that apparently everybody loved and was super high on.
What he's discussing is there was an inside employee who said Phil Spencer really liked what he played. That's what he's referring to. Okay, I'm just translating from Xbox podcast language to like regular language, okay? Because I interpreted that article where they came out there, like one person that was in the room said Phil loved it. I was like, yeah. And when I go to a restaurant and I have an overdone steak, I usually go, it's great. Even though I don't actually think it's great because I'm a nice person, you know? So I wouldn't read into it too much. He actually secretly thought it was Game of the Year. Like, I don't think so. He canceled it. So I don't think he thought it was that good. Anyway.
And then 2 months later, they canceled the game. So, okay. So this has to do with that then?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
So what I heard is, and MMOs are very expensive to make, extremely expensive to make, and you've got to compete with the existing MMOs out there, World of Warcraft being one of them, Final Fantasy 14, Realm Reborn, that kind of thing, right? And also like competing with itself, Elder Scrolls Online. So, you know, when it comes to the addressable audience for an MMO, that kind of thing, it was like, from what I heard, it was a case of, do we want to sink a ton of money into getting this to a point where it can compete with the established players on the market, or do we want to allocate that investment towards making Fallout 5?
Okay.
And from what I heard, it was a case of trade-offs, and that the program to expand Fallout 5 and just Fallout in general, that's where they've decided to make the investments, and where the money will be, you know, translate into more of a surefire win.
Now, I'm just going to be real with you. I hate to bring it up again. I have a degree in corporate finance. I literally went to school to learn how corporations allocate funds, finance projects. Like, this is literally what I studied. I would be the guy going with Phil to figure out what projects made sense to invest in and how to do the math and build out the spreadsheets to make that work. Okay, so this is literally my bread and butter. And what he's saying, in my humble opinion, makes absolutely no freaking sense at all. Okay? Fallout 5 was gonna happen regardless. Okay? It's something that's been discussed for a decade at this point. Okay? It was never like, oh, well, we could make this MMO or Fallout 5. Now we're gonna pull the money from that and do it over here. I don't think that ever was in consideration. They didn't do these layoffs, as Jason Schreier said, in order to reallocate funds. They did it because Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, said they needed to cut 4% of their workforce. And that's what they did. And they just so happened to lay off teams specifically that were heavily unionized. I don't think that's a coincidence. The team over at ZeniMax Online had just recently unionized, hadn't even finished their negotiations for severance pay, which is why a lot of them are still in the studio today as I film this video, because they haven't officially been fired since the union they joined and set up hadn't even finished negotiating contracts. And as we all know, Microsoft is not a well-known fan of unions. The other place they did a lot of layoffs at was Microsoft. When they bought Blizzard, they also bought King, which is a mobile developer, and they had also formed a union, and they also just so happened to face big layoffs as well. So, I'm sure there's no paper trail, but I don't think it's a coincidence that the places that got hit the biggest with layoffs happen to be the places that recently unionized. Call me Sherlock Holmes, okay? Like, I don't buy that they were actually rearranging budgets to put money over here. I think they got told by the big man upstairs in the ivory tower that they had to make a big cut, and they're like, okay, where do we make cuts? Oh, they're making a really expensive, high-risk game, MMO. Yeah, that's going to be really risky. And they unionized? Easy. Smush. I think that's what happened. I don't think you need to read into it much more than that. But even though he's saying this, when he is asked who's making Fallout 5, you would think that would be a no duh, that's BGS. But he doesn't even say that. So if you think that he knows what he's talking about, he's not willing to confirm it's BGS making Fallout 5, which is not great. Bit of a problem. And if you think he's full of it as well, then also it just means he knows nothing about Fallout 5 and there's no reason to think that anything's currently happening with it. So either way, whichever way you believe and read this, it's still not great for Fallout 5 coming from BGS, right? So here we are at the end of all of this. Where are we after we wrap all of this up? I think there is a very good reason to believe that BGS is not doing Fallout 5 after Elder Scrolls 6. They have something else they want to do first. I still think Todd wants to do it. I don't think Todd wants to give Fallout to anybody else. It seems like he wants to consolidate efforts. He wants to have Fallout 76 under BGS. He wants to have Elder Scrolls under BGS. He wants to have, Starfield, of course, under BGS and everything. So what would they do after the Elder Scrolls 6? Well, I think that there's 2 to possibly 3 possibilities, okay? The first possibility is, as we saw with Fallout 76 and even Elder Scrolls Online, BGS and ZeniMax in general, they like having a live service offering in one of their big IP to service those fans until the next game comes out 15 to 20 years after the fact. Makes sense. You want to have something to play between Skyrim and Elder Scrolls 6. You want to have something to play between Fallout 4 and Fallout 5, so they give you Fallout 76. That makes sense, okay? So I think there is a possibility that they work on, I can't believe I'm about to say this, a live service offering for Starfield to serve fans of that IP until Starfield 2, probably sometime in the 2040s, which again is not actually that crazy of a thing to say. Okay, I like the idea that they would make a live service offering of their big IP. You might say, well, Luke, Starfield is nowhere near as big as Fallout or Elder Scrolls. Aha! BGS disagrees with you. Emil Pagliarulo, Todd Howard's right-hand man at BGS, specifically said that he thinks that Starfield sits, quote, right next to Fallout and the Elder Scrolls as part of Bethesda's Big Three. Internally, apparently, they think of Starfield as right up there with Elder Scrolls and Fallout. And if they've created live service offerings for those two, why would they not do it for Starfield to hold Starfield fan over until the second game? It might be part of what they're working on. The other kind of tangential thing related to this, of course, Microsoft laid off a lot of people at ZeniMax Online because they recently unionized, I think is a big component of it. But they laid off people there, and Elder Scrolls Online is doing well, but it's definitely later in its lifespan. I don't think it's an impossibility, and this is theory number 2. So Starfield Online is number 1, or Starfield 76 is option 1. Option 2 would be that BGS is going to make basically an Elder Scrolls 6 online version effectively to serve fans of Elder Scrolls moving forward, and it's going to be like the next generation live game, and it will be something they can manage in-house, just like Fallout 76, as Microsoft handles ZeniMax Online, potentially even shutting that place down entirely because, again, Microsoft, they do not like the unions. I hate to break it to you, but that's a possibility as well, is that they handle their own in-house Elder Scrolls live service option as well. But what is option number 3? Well, you remember that interview from 2021 that was audio only and therefore has not really been spread around or listened to a lot. Well, in that interview, I transcribed the whole thing and I found a little tidbit where Todd is talking about the Indiana Jones game. At the time, they had just announced that they were working on this game. There was very, very little known about it, but there's an interesting little tidbit where Todd mentions the original vision and idea behind the Indiana Jones game. It was not supposed to be developed by Machine Games. It was supposed to originally have been developed by Bethesda Game Studios. And the initial pitches allegedly happened, according to Todd, sometime around like 2009, 2010, like right around the time they were working on Skyrim. So I'll let him play, and we'll catch up at the end of it. Okay, I'll just let him explain.
The Indiana Jones game, that I love Indiana Jones. People who know me, like, I'm obsessed with Indiana Jones. It's like Raiders of the Lost Ark is the best thing ever put to film, no debate. And for a long time, I had met some people at Lucas way back in the day and said, oh, I have this Indiana Jones game in my head. And I got chatting with them, and they're like, that's awesome. You should come out and pitch it. So I went out to Lucasfilm, and I pitched this game, and we almost made it. This was like 10, 12 years ago.
Okay.
And it kind of, obviously we were doing other things. Like we didn't really necessarily have the bandwidth. Like, hey, Todd, what team? Like, I'll figure it out. And, hey, fast forward to kind of current day. And now they're part of Disney and they're starting to license. I got in a conversation with somebody there that I know, John Drake, who was a Sony, loved John. And we got to chatting and I said, I have this Indiana Jones game. And he was like, tell me more. I'm like, is this possible?
So Todd, at one point, had an entire pitch for an Indiana Jones Bethesda Game Studios title that he was very excited about. He loves Indiana Jones. He talks about it all the time. And if you look at interviews going back even to like 2008, you can see Indiana Jones memorabilia on his desk. Again, if you don't believe me, you don't know who you're dealing with, okay? Do you remember the making of Fallout 3 documentary? No? Well, fair. I don't know why you would, but I do. I remember that documentary, and you know what's in it? A little snippet of Todd sitting at his desk with the idol sitting right there. This is from 2000, honestly, probably 2007. We don't know exactly when, but of course, Fallout 3 came out in 2008, and this was filmed during the development of it. But even back then, he had this idol on his desk. He talked about how Starfield was one of his dream games to make, and it seems like an Indiana Jones game is also a dream of his to make. What if our option number 3 is that Todd goes and makes a big old pitch for that Bethesda Game Studios Indiana Jones game, and that is what he wants to do between Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5. It's not impossible, right? Well, Luke, how would he even get the in? Well, he just mentioned that he had a connection with somebody over there that did licensing with Disney and everything. And also, it certainly would help if there was some sort of connection there, if there was some sort of familial thing, like a brother who happens to work at Disney and has done a lot of writing on Disney projects. Maybe that could also give him an in. Wouldn't that be interesting? Maybe. I grant you, it's a huge stretch. Okay, most likely they do like Starfield 76 or an Elder Scrolls Online game or something between Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5. I think that's why he's been cagey about it, because they have something else they need to do first for the sake of the business that probably Xbox is pushing them to do. I think we probably get some spin-off stuff with Fallout. I don't think they let it sit totally dormant for 25 years. I think that even to them is ridiculous, but I wouldn't be surprised if they are doing something else between it, because otherwise I don't know why Todd has been so cagey. I think those are the most likely options, but I do think that there is potentially, some situation where you could see Todd really pushing to get to make an Indiana Jones Bethesda Game Studios game. I have no idea what that would look like, but Todd had an idea for it back in like 2009, 2010 that he initially pitched, saying they would do it, they would figure it out. And it was only years and years later that they put Machine Games on it and decided to make a game with them. Todd, of course, executive produced that, but he wants to make an Indiana Jones game, man. He wants to make it, not just offer some creative ideas. He wants to be the man, and he could. It's possible. I'm just saying, don't doubt me ever, because I also predicted Suicide Squad not turning out as horribly as it did, but I did predict that they would make a game like that in the Suicide Squad universe back in like 2018, well before it happened. So I've gotten predictions like this correct in the past, and who knows, maybe in 5-6 years, this one will come true as well. You never know. But anyway, that is all I have for you today. Like I said, I think the odds are most likely that they're going to be doing some sort of basically Fallout 76 like game, either in the Elder Scrolls or Starfield universes in between Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5. Because I think if they were moving straight on to Fallout 5, they probably would just do it. Like, I think they would just do it. I don't know why he'd be so cagey out of nowhere walking back statements. If they were doing it, just say you're doing it. It's not a big deal. It'll excite people, get them hyped, but instead he doesn't want to do that. And all of the other leaks and rumors and stuff about Fallout projects seem to be contradicted by other people and other insiders. So there's plenty of reason to doubt those statements as well. But at the end of the day, I think that most likely we're going to get something that will be, it will give us a lot to talk about, I'm sure, after the Elder Scrolls 6. But first, Elder Scrolls 6 has to come out, and I'm sure that's going to be a very interesting game to see as well. So make sure to subscribe because we'll be talking about it for sure. But that will do it for me. Thank you for watching. Leave your thoughts on this in the comment section below. I genuinely want to hear your thoughts on all of it. I want to hear if I'm just totally barking up the wrong tree or maybe there's something to this. Let me know. I'll be reading those comments. Until next time, my friends, much love. Like the video, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Share it with somebody who needs to be taken down a notch. And I will see you in the next one. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.